Okay, so I think we're live. Just check on YouTube. Here we go. We are live. So let me make sure everyone's got the correct link. Here we go. We are live. Right then, Marius, hi. How you doing?
Hello. Nice to meet you.
You too. You too. Thanks for joining. Nice to see you in the flesh. I know we've been speaking for a few months, haven't we? So I'm looking forward to.
Exactly. Not only a few months, but there was also some preparationary work. I implemented a lot of stuff, and now we are going to take it to the next level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you did the 3D HODL coins for us, didn't you, as well?
Exactly. Initially, I created some HODL coins. I actually used my voxel engine to create them. This is a product which I have on the Unity asset, so I develop it myself. And voxel engine is a very complicated stuff. Performance is everything, basically. But you can do a lot of stuff with it.
Nice one. Okay, great. So to introduce what's going on here, so we're going to have a conversation around play to earn gaming for everyone that's joined us, and then we'll be able to share the video afterwards with the community as well. Play to earn gaming is something we're really excited about. I think it's something that will add a huge amount of value to our ecosystem and also to our NFT range. So we're going to discuss how that's going to work. But before we get into that and we talk about our plans, do you want to just give us a bit of an update, a bit of a breakdown on your background and how this came about?
All right, let's start with how I came here. After all, actually, I grew up with video games, basically, and until 23, I just did the primary school stuff and everything. And actually, the older I get, the less amount of real life I had, basically, and the more time I spent in front of the computer. And 2013, I started with university, computer science with focus on game development. I have done the bachelor and the master's degree. It was actually in Austria. Then I worked 1 year in Austria, but taxes and salary is too low, so I moved to Germany for 2 years, and now I am here in Switzerland, in the land where I get rich, actually, because the taxes are low. Yeah. And you earn a lot of money as software developer, basically.
Okay.
So, and HODL actually is the coin which got me into crypto 1 year ago, because 2018 I started to invest into stocks and learn stuff about financial freedom. And I mostly invest in dividend-paying stocks. And usually cryptocurrency doesn't pay dividends, but HODL was the first coin which does pay dividends. So that got me interested in crypto in the first place, and now I'm pretty much hooked with crypto, and I also now read smart contracts, try to educate myself about those things, and now creating that play to earn game is really something I would like, because actually the problem with game development is that it is a very tough business because it's entertainment, and it's mostly dominated by those AAA studios. And and the AAA studios, they create the games. The games are poorly based on exploitation of the workforce and low payment, basically. So you earn the triple amount of salary working in a non-game related field than as game development. So currently I create other stuff in technical fields, but as a hobby in my free time, I still do game development and creating especially tools in order to accelerate the game development process.
Nice. And what are your favorite games at the moment then?
If you are going to choose a genre, there are several ones, but I mostly go with the hardcore games. I grew up with the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and this console is known for highly difficult games. And that's a topic we will discuss afterwards, because it's about the type of games you are going you have to develop. There are actually the difficult games, which usually are called hardcore games, and those are my favorite games, like Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, Bloodborne. Those are modern versions of highly difficult games. And then you have the casual games which are easy for the broad masses, actually.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, let's have a chat then about some of our plans for HODL and some of the things that we've been discussing then bring into the ecosystem. At the moment, we've got the 4 mini games on hodlgames.net. Currently, they are not play to earn, but that's the first port of call, isn't it? We're looking at adding play to earn to the 4 games that we already have, taking those further and developing them, adding some extra enhancements to those games. So let's talk about those to begin with. Moonshot. So the first game we spoke about was Moonshot. That's where you have the HODL hand and it flies between the different planets. It's a very tricky game. I'm terrible. I know you've got the highest score.
I'm at number 1. I have the highest score.
Yeah, pretty big score. So the ideas we've discussed, so we're going to, there's a negative point, isn't there, at the moment, which we're going to remove.
Exactly.
Do you want to just take us through like what we discussed on Moonshot?
Exactly. The Moonshot itself is a very nice. It's the best game from those 4, actually, especially for me. The thing which I immediately notice is that there are negative points.
Yeah.
Actually, collectibles which are negative is a very bad thing in game development in general. You see there are actually points, and you want to collect them, but they give you minus points. That's something which should occur in a rare occasion. It can occur. For example, I posted for a 3D version of the HODL coin and one which is reversed, basically. Actually, this would be something where actually the player gets punished when he makes a mistake. But in this case, since they are actually rotating around the planet, you have no control over it if you're going to collect it or not, because you have a timing. After a certain time span, the starting planet will disappear.
Yeah.
So actually, the negative point must disappear. That's a very important thing.
Yeah.
The next is if you have 100 points, basically, the game does not change anymore. So after 100 points, it remains simply the same. The difficulty ramps up, but at 100, it's just a grind fest, basically. So what we can do here, basically, is to add planet types. For example, the planet must not be spherical. It could also be a cube or a triangle. It could also have a shape, but as long as this is a convex shape. If it's concave, then you get problems with the collision detection system. And also later on, it can also be possible to have several planets maybe appear on the screen. And for example, there is a planet which rotates slower and one which rotates faster. And the one which rotates faster gives more points, for example. We can. So the player has the decision to decide if he's gonna take the risk or not.
Yeah. Okay, and the idea is as well that there'll be a leaderboard, a scoreboard.
Exactly. The leaderboard can have several usages. Actually, there are two options we can use for play to earn. The first option is that you earn the points. You're earning the points from. There's already an implementation that you earn points when you're landing on a specific planet. Those points can be used for play to earn, and also it is possible to utilize the leaderboard to implement a ranking system. So there will be a key, and those at the top get a specific amount of coins each week, basically, for example. So this gives an intention to get better at that game, basically, to get a higher score in order to get on the leaderboard. Because as long as you are on the leaderboard, you're earning passive income. And passive income is what HODL is standing for.
Exactly.
So you put in the effort. Getting to 500 score, it was tough. I have 560 score. If you make one mistake, it's game over. So I aimed for a 4-digit score, but it's a concentration hell. But if you have such an insane score, you can guarantee that you have passive income as long as HODL exists, until someone else is beating you. So we need a key table in order to make it fair. So the first one get X amount of coins each week, and the second one lower amount, and down to, since it's a top 10 list, basically.
Yeah. So effectively, then people will be able to earn tokens by competing on the leaderboard, and then depending on where they're positioned on that leaderboard, they'll get different levels of reward, which very much, as you say, ties into the notion of passive income, and it makes it fun, and it gives you reason to compete and be at the top of the leaderboard. So I think that's brilliant. The next, let's rattle through these other games, because I want to. There's quite a lot to discuss today. So
Crush is the next one on the list.
Yeah, HODL Crush. That's the game where you line up the different jewels, and you try and get the highest score. There's no leaderboard for that currently, is there?
Exactly. This game is the one which actually needs the most improvements, and it's actually one of the most difficult ones to improve, because basically it's bejeweled. Bejeweled, that's how the game itself is called, and it's a super casual game, and the only thing you can really implement here basically is to make it responsive. So it actually currently it's designed for a smartphone. But actually the best aspect ratio is always 60:9 for computer games. Stick to one aspect ratio, otherwise you would have to design a user interface for all different kind of aspect ratios, and then you get into the UI design hell. That's actually involved in game development. That means that you have to test it on different devices. So change the game, change it to 60:19 so it fits on a desktop, because on a mobile phone you have much less focus on a mobile phone. And here it's also, since it's a time-based game, actually the aim is to get as an amount of score in a specific amount of time. So the only thing we can do here actually is to add a leaderboard.
Yeah, and we spoke as well, didn't we, about adding some special stones that destroy all colors?
Actually, there are 3 types of special stones you can implement in Bejeweled. The first stone destroys all the colors, basically a specific type of stone on the field. The second one destroys stones in the 3x3 area, and the third one is which destroys them horizontal and vertical. Those are actually the bonus stones which are commonly used in the Bejeweled genre, basically.
So there'll be a little bit of improvement, but again, a leaderboard that will pay out passive income depending on where you're positioned.
Exactly. Ideally, the most crucial point in game development is to reuse code. reuse what you have implemented. That means we are going to implement the leaderboard, we are going to implement the pay-to-earn system, and we are going to reuse it in every game we are developing.
Yeah.
That means it also includes games we are developing in the future.
Yeah. Okay. So, because there is that consistency, which I think is great, we'll wrap up on the other two games because I know there's a lot to talk about beyond just these 4 mini games. So, with HODL Ninja, we discussed adding in some ways that you can earn extra lives in the game. Again, there'd be a leaderboard, some other little features. The other one where our other game where you grab the different HODL hands that fly by. I think the idea is add additional matching fields. And again, there would be a leaderboard. So those 4 games that we have currently on hodlgames.net, we're going to start a process of converting those into play to earn games where you can actually effectively earn passive income through your score, through your performance. Do you want to just give somebody in the communities asking around timelines? Do you want to just give an estimation? I know we've discussed this, but what is your high level estimation on the timeline for converting those 4 games, making the improvements and converting them into play to earn?
Actually, converting the games to play to earn itself is fast. It can be done in about 2 months. But before that, we have to implement and set up the player to earn environment. That means server. We need a server. We need the connection between off-chain and on-chain, which is a highly difficult task. And when that is set up, basically, then we can go to implement the play to earn games.
Yeah. So roughly, we're talking a few months of work.
Actually, a few months, so 5-6 months. Actually, it's a gradual process. The first game I would suggest to convert to play to earn is Moonshot, because it's the best game from the 4 currently existing ones, and it has the best incentive at the moment. And especially what we have to do now is to gather knowledge about play to earn in general, especially how it works out with crypto. So I suggest we focus on Moonshot, implement the leaderboard, implement the play to earn functionality, and also the environment, as we have to see how it works out on the blockchain actually.
Yeah.
That's also important.
We get the first game, the play to earn on that done in the not too distant future, and then see how that goes before rolling out onto the others. We also discussed another thing to announce. I think we shared this with the community, but we did a survey and we asked people which games they'd like to see. And one of the most popular games, which I think would be a great play to earn option and a little bit different to those games that we already have, is a version of Solitaire, the card game. So we've spoken about that, haven't we? I mean, and we were talking about that taking 1 or 2 months to implement Solitaire. So do you want to give us any thoughts on that in terms of how you see that, how you see the play to earn aspect of that?
Solitaire is there are two ways we can implement play to earn with Solitaire. The first thing is to have a timer, have a leaderboard, and the one which clears the Solitaire the fastest, basically, gets on the highest score. This can also be combined by, say, you have to clear X amount of Solitaire games in 10 minutes, for example, and the one who has cleared the most amount get ranked on the leaderboard. Exactly. And then you have to also add some add some earnings when you for each solitaire game you complete actually.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm bad in card games. I'm terrible in games like this. So basically, earning money on solitaire. Okay, this gives incentive to play that game actually. And I know especially older people are playing this game a lot. Actually, my mom is also playing that.
Well, I was going to say this is more my kind of game, but I'm not sure I want to say that after after you've said it's
Yeah,
rather
everyone has different preferences.
But yeah, it's a great game. It's one of those things. I remember when I was a kid, you know, Solitaire was always installed on Windows, and it was the best of a handful of games. I can't remember what other games there were. There was a little bomb game I remember, and a few other bits. But it's a good game, and one of the things that I want to do with Solitaire is that we've got an amazing design team, and I'd love to, you know, really do some amazing things with the visuals on the Solitaire. The branding of HODL hands somehow. You know, we had some light conversation on that, of like the suited cards can incorporate aspects of our brand. So we're not just using generic playing cards, we'll actually design our own on-brand playing cards as well, which would be really cool. Okay, so
here with Solitaire, we have to consider if we are using Construct 3 or Unity.
yeah,
That's the one thing which ideally I can decide it when we have the play to earn setup, because then I have more knowledge of Minesweeper.
yeah. Someone that was it. I remember that now. Blast from
I
the
could
past.
implement Minesweeper with 3D graphics and everything in Unity, so that would be no issue.
Yeah. Okay. And then so just to summarize where we're at. So we already have four games on hodlgames.net. The idea is we're going to make some improvements to those 4 games, take them to another level in terms of their playability. Also, the designers that we work with are going to support that, and we'll provide some enhanced graphics. Then the idea is really to implement leaderboards so that people can earn passive income through their performance in these games. We then, separate to that, we're looking at Solitaire and doing play to earn Solitaire, which I think is going to be great and a totally different option for people to the other games. And finally, and this one's really unique, and I want you to kind of explain to people your vision for the other thing that we're looking at, which is a game that you approached me about a number of months ago and have been working on. The name hasn't been decided yet, but so far it's called HODL Fighter.
Exactly.
But it's going to be our own. How would you describe it? It's like a full-scale custom game. But do you want to just tell the audience, you know, what we're doing there? And
HODL Fighter is actually it's a game where you fly a spaceship through a level, and in that level, basically, there are enemies, and at the end, there are also traps, enemies, bosses at the end. And the nice thing here, basically, it will be like those old school shooters. Called Gradius is a nice example about it, where you fly a spaceship through a world, and you can get a variety of power-ups, and you can have a variety of features like a shield, or you can get something like life, so you have life and energy. Ideally, we make it in a way so that you can utilize the HODL hands in a way so that the ship itself gets abilities according to the HODL hand. For example, there's metadata. Metadata is included into the HODL hand itself, and the ship could actually have properties according to those metadata.
Yeah.
So actually, the main point is that the world itself is generated procedurally. So that means I just design templates, and the world itself is then generated on the fly. So each time you play a level, it looks completely different.
Yeah, which blows my mind. I don't quite understand how that's achieved, but it sounds pretty cool. So every single time somebody plays the level, it's going to be slightly different enemies, attacking you. Slightly
different. Is different. The traps, the placement of traps is different. The only thing which probably is not different is the boss at the final boss at the end, because making procedural bosses is very difficult. Because boss design is a difficult thing, because the boss itself either becomes too easy or way too difficult. So you need to find a sweet spot where people are able to beat that boss. Maybe after 20 tries. In Dark Souls, even I needed 40 times for a specific boss until I found out the pattern. And it can be it's allowed to make the game difficult. What's not allowed is to make the game unfair. That's two different things. Exactly.
So I remember from our conversations, and the idea is that so we're going to build. It's a side-scrolling game, isn't it? It's like you have a spaceship. It sort of scrolls.
Exactly,
from the side.
It's a side-scrolling game. Yes.
Yeah, and then there's like other spaceships attacking you, bombs and weapons and shields.
One thing which is also interesting is that each 3D object, each enemy, the ship itself basically is generated procedurally. There is no artist providing the 3D content. It's generated on the fly. So actually the file size of the game itself is pretty small.
Yeah, that's some clever stuff. And, so the plan is we're going to have 3 levels, isn't it, at launch?
At the beginning, we can already launch the game with 3 levels. That's sufficient enough. When they play the earn functionality works in that game, because there should also be collectibles which appear inside the game itself. And when you collect them, that's the thing you earn. And actually, at the end of the level, you get a score point. And if you are able to do many levels in a row, basically, the next level which you get actually will be randomized. You won't get the type of the levels randomized. So in the future, there should be, I see it that there will be levels added regularly, basically. So the pool of possible levels increases over time.
Yeah.
And and we can also include crazy levels. So levels we are absolutely unexpected. We can give them a appearance rate. So with a low probability, you come for example, into a crypto world where everything moons and you see a lot of gold you can collect and stuff like that. So we can my plan was to somehow that the levels resemble the crypto world. So we have the dark world, evil worlds, which represent the beer market, and actually that will be a plan for the future to the levels appear according to the HODL chart. It's also possible to that the chart itself influences the generation system.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So if it pumps the level easier, and if it dumps the level different, basically.
So I know that because I've had a play of the game. The game is in production, isn't it? We've been playing with the game. It's got a long way to go, but as it stands at the moment, you start out. It's a random level, randomly generated. There's currently 3 levels, and at the end of each level, there's a boss. There's an attack. There's a defense. But the plan is that we'll we'll launch with those 3 levels and then add a level a month, and up until we get to about 15 levels, which is quite a lot of. It's a very big game. And with the NFT side of things, we've spoken, and I know there's a question in the community. We've spoken, haven't we, about potentially if you have a rare NFT, you might get some advantages in the game, whether that's your defensive attributes, your attacking attributes, or other things. Do you want to just give us some of the thoughts that we've had and your ideas about how the NFTs will enhance the game?
Exactly. First, we have to consider one thing. If we give power according to the HODL hand you have, basically, it gives the players which have rare NFTs an advantage over players which don't have the rare NFTs, basically. So what we have to find here is a balance to give the player powers, basically, but they should not be too strong. So, for example, what we can do is, if you have a rare NFT, for example, it has what I saw is the NFT itself does not have a rarity. The metadata itself has a specific probability, and the rarity is defined by the metadata. And the rare metadata gives you boni, like so you start, for example, with a specific weapon. So if you have a lightning, if the whole hand holds a lightning thing,
lightning bolt,
with a lightning gemstone. Actually, the powers in the game are actually material. Those are gemstones, and they look really nice if you look them close up.
Yeah.
For example, if it has a thumb, the thumb has also a metadata, and the thumb itself, depending on the material, you get a higher defense stat. So if you're unlike the old school shooter games, you do not die immediately when you get hit. In the old games like Gradius and bullet hell games, if you get hit or just touch the wall, you die. But I don't want to have that in the game, unless it's a late game level, which is really for the best players. We can do that, but no. If you touch the wall, you get damage, but you don't die. That should not happen. And what we can do is that every kind of attack, the enemies also attack, and those attacks have an element. And depending on which HODL hand you use, you have better defenses against specific elements. So that means if you have a HODL hand which has a lot of metadata against lightning, then you will have an advantage in the level where the enemies have a lot of lightning related attacks. But on the other side, if you then play the game and you are unlucky and you never get the level, basically, so then you don't have the enemies which you are good at defending at. So it gives advantages on specific levels, but not completely on the whole game.
That's really cool. I mean, and again, I think one thing what I want to make clear as well to everybody who's watching this is that you were keen to do this in a way whereby anyone can play our games. So it's not these games are not exclusive to people with the NFTs, but to really earn the better, the larger amounts on play to earn, and to make and to actually have that passive income coming through, you need the NFTs. But do you want to just explain to people your vision on that and why that's important?
Exactly. Play to earn play to earn is a topic which in cryptocurrency, what I saw now during the hype phase, they all implement the play to earn games wrong. Actually, what you see is you have to buy an NFT in order to be able to play. So you have to invest money first before you even know if it's possible to earn money. So actually, play to earn does not exist since crypto. It also existed way before. 10 years ago, play to earn still existed. Just check out World of Warcraft, but you just had to sell the gold using illegal ways. And actually, what gives the items or the play to earn content value basically is the effort you have to put in order to get that stuff.
Yeah.
That means for a play to earn game, the NFTs basically are now the HODL hands. But actually, what we need are NFTs which are related to the game itself, and you get that NFT as an item, for example, in game. You can farm that item, and then you can use that item for in-game stuff like gambling, or you can upgrade that item, and you could later on trade it with other people off-chain and on-chain. That's all related about the play-to-earn environment. But the best example for a play-to-earn game is Cabal Online. I played that game 10 years, and there is, for example, a blade, as a blade basically. It's called a Palladium Blade of Annihilation. That's the call with Divine Upgrade 15, Extreme Upgrade 6, and each upgrade is there's risk involved that you destroy the item basically. No? That means you have to upgrade it so many times, and for each update you have to put in resources basically. But the difficulty to obtain that item is what gives the item the value actually. And in Cabal Online, one item, such blade, is worth about $50,000. Wow. So you can you can buy real estate with one of blade basically. It has crazy extreme upgrade. Success rate is 5% for each step. You have 6 steps, and if it fails, then it goes back to 0. And you have to farm. The grinding is actually the time the players have to put into the game in order to earn items, in order to earn, for example, the play to earn tokens. For example, if each of those 4 games have a different score, you get the score for HODL game, for HODL Crash, you get one for Moonshot, and you get one for the Bejeweled game. And then in HODL Fighter, you need those points basically in order to upgrade an item. That means you need to farm HODL Moonshot, for example, in order to get the material which you then need in HODL Fighter to upgrade, for example, your gemstone, which gives you a lightning strike power up, in order that deals more damage or uses less amount of energy. And that means that you have put a lot of time into creating that item. And it's not just money, or you don't open a loot box. In the crypto games, you get NFT by opening a loot box, and if you're lucky. But luck is what actually not liked in a game. So actually, you always should have the option to really farm it, to grind it, you play the game, you earn the points and use the points to improve your weapon or your armor. And then that weapon gets the value actually itself. Because value, what is value in general? It's what someone puts in order to create something. That's the definition of value. And not opening a loot box.
Absolutely. but the idea is that anyone will be able to play, our games and earn some tokens. But if you have our HODL hands, the benefits will be far greater. That's really the key. Is that fair to say?
Exactly, the benefits will be greater. You will, for example, farm faster. Actually, but we have to be careful about that, because otherwise we enter the pay to win territory. So the HODL hands should give you something, but it should still remain balanced.
Yeah.
We always have to consider that.
Okay. Brilliant.
But
well, look, I mean,
the market will then correct itself. So the HODL value is related to the amount of the speed you can farm in the game. Basically,
yeah.
that's then the value.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, it's a lot of work, but some great ideas, and I think it's going to add a huge amount to our ecosystem. People are going to be asking, well, what about poker? So the poker game is actually being developed by Paul separately. The idea with that as well is that the NFTs will have integration into that. We've spoken about a few ideas. I like the idea that if you have the card tattoos on your HODL hand, that you get some advantages in the game. So our NFTs will be a part of our poker game experience that's coming down the track, and that's separate to what we're discussing today. So you've still got that to look forward to as well. But just to round up, we've got the hodlgames.net platform currently with 4 mini games. Those games are going to be improved with play to earn added, accessible to anyone. But the main advantages will come if you have a HODL hand. That's when you'll be able to unlock the biggest scores and subsequently earnings. And then along with those 4 games that we've currently got that you can check out now, we're going to do a Solitaire game that's play to earn. Plus, Marius is developing this really cool side-scrolling shooter game, end to end. That in itself is a massive development, which we're really excited about. So you're going to have 6 games, the current 4, Solitaire and the shooter. So that's 6 games plus poker. So I think I'm very bullish on what we're doing here with the project as a whole, but specifically in this area, I think there's so much to look forward to. It's going to add a ton of value to our NFTs. So if you're on the fence about that, I'd encourage you to consider picking up an NFT now while they're incredibly affordable. They're currently 0.2 BNB rather than the usual 0.3. But if you think when we've added the utility that we're discussing here, all this play to earn gaming benefits, the benefits of the poker game we're developing, unlocking and accessing the auto compounding pools, which we're looking to put back online with some improvements very soon, and other benefits that will undoubtedly develop for the NFTs down the track. We're talking about some pretty amazing NFTs here that will complement a really, really amazing gaming ecosystem. So a lot to look forward to. This is an area that I'm particularly excited by because it's going to be fun. But I also think that the potential for it to be revenue generative and something that enhances the entire ecosystem is also really, really quite spectacular. So Marius, look, really appreciate it. Really looking forward to working with you and learning. I've got a lot to learn from you, so looking forward to that too. But yeah, thank you ever so much for your time. Thank you for what you're doing, and yeah, being such a solid member of the community. And yeah, here's to the future of our gaming plans.
Also, we have to consider what with the coins are made.
Yeah, we'll save that one for another day. But yeah, we're gonna have to consider we have to make sure that this is fun, but also hyper secure as well. And so there's a lot to consider there, but we'll share more updates pretty soon with the community on that. Okay, but again, thank you for your time. Sorry, was there something else, Marius?
Yeah, the most important thing actually, and the most difficult thing to implement actually right now is the play to earn environment, and this is the most important thing because it must be secure, off chain and on chain, because the play to earn part must work off chain, otherwise the gas fee will be a problem.
Yeah, I know we've had some interesting conversations around that and how we can do it. Yeah. So yeah, we've got some good ideas there, but it's something we're conscious of. So I suppose that's the key message. People, I want people to understand is that we're aware of some of the risks and pitfalls with this, and we've got a plan to mitigate those risks so that it's secure. So yeah, we'll share updates on that in the near future once we've maybe made further headway with the development. But again, Marius, thank you for what you're doing here. Really looking forward to it. And if you're watching and you like the sound of what's coming with the gaming, make sure you visit the website, hit the NFT page, and right now they're on offer at 0.2 BNB. So yeah, thanks everyone, and Marius will speak again soon. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.
All right, take care.